This man controls the biggest social media company on the planet. Mark Zuckerberg is worth over $100 billion US.
Facebook is really different from other companies. All of the power essentially rests in the hands of the supreme leader, and that is Mark Zuckerberg.
We use our phones to connect with the people we care about.
Facebook itself is like a cult. Mark is this larger-than-life character.
We are concerned about the extent to which the digital platforms are places where misinformation, disinformation is disseminated.
Our services are about connection, and our business model is advertising, and we face intense competition in both.
After 16 years of relentless growth, Facebook's unparalleled dominance in the market is being questioned.
Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram are the most now downloaded apps of the last decade. Your company, sir, owns them all, and we have a word for that. That word is monopoly.
Almost half the world, some 2.7 billion people, actively use Facebook. More than half the Australian population uses the social media site.
Facebook thinks that it is a sovereign nation. I mean, they have, almost twice as many active users as there are people in China. So Mark Zuckerberg says, I'm not actually an American company. I'm Facebook. And America serves me, not the other way around. That's really unhealthy. I was, for 3 years, from 2006 to 2009, an advisor to Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook. He's incredibly smart. He works really hard. I think he cares deeply.
Facebook was started in 2004.
Roger McNamee is an early Silicon Valley investor turned author and trenchant critic of the social media behemoth.
It's built around concepts that, at the moment, are undermining the public health, democracy, privacy, and competition in the United States and elsewhere around the world.
He argues that political disinformation campaigns on Facebook played a crucial role in the election of Donald Trump.
I reached out to Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg in October of 2016, before the US presidential election, to warn my friends, to say, guys, there's something about the culture, the business model, and the algorithms at Facebook that is allowing bad people to hurt innocent people. At that point, I realized this company, they're not interested in doing the right thing, but they're not actually interested in that. They're much more interested in power.
But it's clear now that we didn't do enough to prevent these tools from being used for harm as well. And that goes for fake news, for foreign interference in elections, and hate speech.
So many shocking aspects of the Cambridge Analytica and Facebook story. And one of the shocking things about it is that Facebook lied about what had actually happened.
Always had this very sort of rich working class culture.
Guardian journalist Carol Cadwallader believes disinformation on Facebook helped win the Brexit referendum.
We are out of the EU tonight. Yeah.
She revealed that the personal data of 87 million Facebook users was harvested by political consulting firm Cambridge Analytica.
Facebook lied to journalists through 2017 when they were asking questions about what had happened with this data. And I was one of those journalists who it lied to. So I kind of spent this extraordinary year of being gaslit by Facebook.
And I'm really sorry that this happened. We have a basic responsibility to protect people's data. And if we can't do that, then we don't deserve to have the opportunity to serve people.
One of the interesting things about what happened then, and that reminds me of Facebook's behaviour right now in Australia, is this sort of bullying, intimidating, heavy-handed tactics. If it doesn't get its own way, it goes to these, quite extraordinary lengths.
Australia is attempting to make Facebook and Google pay Australian media companies fairly for the use of their news content. Both Google and Facebook have threatened to stop allowing Australian news on their sites.
I spoke to the CEO of Google just last week and continue to invite them to participate in that process. I remember Amazon said to me once, well, you know, we're not going to pay this tax when it comes to the low value threshold, and they threatened to pull Amazon, and they did, and they were back 3 months later. So, look, I think people from these companies understand that when I say something, I mean it, and that I intend to follow through with it.
This is not an empty threat. This is, if this legislation goes through in its current form, then Australian users won't be able to read or post news within Facebook or Instagram. I could guarantee you that at the moment they are working out technically how to get news off Facebook in Australia.
Al Crawford's been head of a major New Zealand news organisation, as well as one of Australia's top news sites, 9MSN.
Yeah, look, news is incredibly important. I think news is a cornerstone of democracy. I'm a huge believer in it. But I don't think introducing bad laws and unfair laws is the way to counteract the demise of news. It absolutely is not the fault of Facebook and Google. What's responsible is the internet, the modern world. That is what has destroyed the business models of commercial media.
Facebook's warned news content is highly substitutable with other content for our users, and that news does not drive significant long-term commercial value for our business.
Most of Facebook's content is user-generated content. The point about news content is that that content is expensive, it costs money to produce, it's produced by organisations that have editorial processes, that have quality control processes.
But Facebook isn't bound to run it.
I will leave it to Facebook to answer questions about what they may or may not do. We want to have a sustainable and diverse media sector in Australia. That's an important element in a democracy.
If we want to raise a tax directly on Facebook and Google, and we want to go through that argument and justify that, I'd be very, potentially supportive of that, and then redistribute that money to support news in some way, in a fair way.
Question is whether these giant global businesses are appropriately paying for the content that their Australian competitors are generating.
But don't let them push you around, because the sooner, they're just bullies. The sooner we stand up to them, the happier we're going to be. And whichever country does it first, oh my God, I mean, everybody's going to be cheering for you, because the whole world is in this position.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.